TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's top story countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
Aaron James was working as a high-voltage lineman in 2021 when his face accidentally touched a live wire. He lost an arm and parts of his face. James's new reality left him nearly unrecognizable. With no memory of what happened, he was sent to a hospital in Texas not long after.
Basically, I got up, went to work, and woke up 6 weeks later in Dallas, Texas.
Doctors at New York University soon got wind of his case and saw a possibility. Less than 2 years after the accident, they performed a successful partial face and whole eye transplant, the first time that's ever been done in history. And this is what James looks like now. The new eye still not open, but receiving blood flow, his doctors say.
When you walk by the mirror, do you ever stop yourself and go,
Oh yeah.
wow?
Every time I see a mirror, I'll stop. It's unbelievable.
In the very beginning, it was a poor outlook. They were basically preparing me for his death.
Did you ever lose hope?
No,
Why is that?
because he was fighting.
Their daughter, Allie, wasn't sure what he would look like. But that's not what she cared about.
Most of my worries was just how he was going to be when he was awake and aware.
Did you ever think you were going to lose him?
Yeah.
I think I'm still a little in shock. So I'm just like, how in the world, how this happened to us,
The 21-hour procedure was intricate at every level.
Why is adding an eye to a face transplant much more complicated than the already complicated face transplant?
It's completely uncharted territory.
Dr. Eduardo Rodriguez helped lead the historic surgery. In one of 2 operating rooms, he dissected the face that James would soon receive, including an eye.
We disconnect it from the donor and the race begins. At this point, the face and the eye are not receiving any blood supply. The amount of time that it's not receiving blood is critical. The eye could die, so I take the face from the donor room to Aaron's room and I begin all those connections.
Having to use a microscope to connect nerves no more than a millimeter wide to connect the eye.
Is there a possibility that he will see in the future?
At this point, he does not see, but the fact that the eye is there, we've already made one huge step forward.
This was James seeing himself for the first time post-surgery.
You don't look at this as a finish line. This is more of a starting point.
Absolutely.
Through it all, James sees a purpose greater than his own.
That's really my biggest hope out of this deal. I mean, if I can see out of it, that's great. But if it'll kickstart the next path in the medical field, then I'm all for it.
Bound, blindfolded, some even stripped. In this video, the jeers of Israeli soldiers abusing and mocking Palestinian workers from Gaza, detained in Israel just days after the beginning of the war. At the Kerem Shalom crossing, men wait anxiously, hoping that their brothers, fathers, sons are among the Palestinian workers who have finally been returned to Gaza by the Israeli military. Thousands of Gazan workers, like these men, had their permits to work in Israel revoked after the October 7th Hamas attack. But with no option to return home, many attempted to flee to the occupied West Bank, only to then be detained. They tied our hands behind our backs, blindfolded us and led us onto a bus. I don't know where they took us, but there were about 200 to 300 Gazan workers held there. Some of the men here are visibly weak, and with each crossing, more stories of abuse and even torture. One man telling CNN he witnessed the use of electric shocks on detainees. They put us in cages like dogs. They beat us and insulted us. They didn't care if you were sick or injured. Some men even died on the way here because they were beaten and subjected to electric shocks. Every day felt like death. They would give us a cucumber to share between 6 people and a small piece of bread. An Israeli security official could not say whether electric shock tactics were used, but told CNN that the IDF is aware of several incidents of abuse against both Gazan workers and Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, adding that these cases are being treated seriously, with disciplinary action said to have been taken against several soldiers identified in social media video. But NGO workers at the Palestinian Prisoner Society say this is a systemic issue, with few legal safeguards in place for Palestinians. We've received horrific first-hand testimonies, Amani Sarahna tells me. They didn't do anything wrong. They weren't charged with anything. Yet many of them were interrogated and systematically tortured. They were abused and brutally beaten. They faced all kinds of dehumanization and insults. In the occupied West Bank, there are thousands of Gazan workers still stranded, desperate to be reunited with loved ones, praying every day for their safety. Maher al-Skeik was working in Israel with his son, Rafiq, but he hasn't seen or heard from him in almost a month. I don't know where he is, whether he's in prison or dead. He's my son, my whole life. He came here to work, to be able to feed his children. He wasn't here to join in any fight. He wasn't here to cause trouble. But just as there are fears for those still missing, at this centre sheltering stranded Gazan workers, there is also indescribable anguish over the safety of family members back home in Gaza. My family is now spread out all across Gaza. They've all had to leave the Jabalia refugee camp because of the airstrikes. When I am able to reach them, all I hear is misery. Every day is another catastrophe. For weeks, many of these men have had no contact with their families. The Gaza they left behind, now changed forever. But for those now across the border, the relief of being freed from detention and reuniting with loved ones is clear. But many have not returned, with thousands still stuck in the occupied West Bank and others still missing.
Doesn't get any easier.
At Riverside National Cemetery in Southern California, Linda Monroe makes a visit to her husband of 55 years, Bob Monroe.
He was a Vietnam veteran, very proud of being a Marine.
As she researched Riverside ahead of his burial, she came across the Digital Veterans Legacy Memorial Project. Since then, she's crafted a page full of photos and tributes that tells the story of Bob's life in service and what's happened after.
Being a family member, you can go in and create an account and add all of their military history and their accomplishments.
James LaPaglia is a digital services officer with the Department of Veterans Affairs. He says the goal of the Veterans Legacy Memorial Project, or VLM, which started in 2019, is to tell the stories behind the VA markers at cemeteries like Riverside.
Family members and battle buddies and friends can find their veterans in a digital space and honor them by telling stories, sharing memories.
Veterans Affairs populates online pages with military service and cemetery information. Family, friends, and others can submit photos and mementos, and the public can search and learn.
Educating about the veteran experience is just as important as family members and others being able to tell stories and remember their veteran.
Ahead of this Veterans Day, the platform doubled to nearly 10 million profiles. It includes those buried in VA's national cemeteries, Department of Defense cemeteries like Arlington National Cemetery, VA-funded cemeteries, and now those buried in private cemeteries who have a VA marker to honor their service. Linda Monroe says her husband died of pneumonia and COVID-19 in January 2021. Since then, updating Bob's page has also continued a dialogue between her and her husband with updates on grandchildren and more.
You're so used when you're married talking to each other and things that you remember or that happened.
Creating a more vivid portrait of the life one veteran lived and the legacy that lives on. In Washington, I'm Karen Kefa.